Hey guys, Magic Man here, and today, I've got another game in my Tier 8 Mogami. This was recorded shortly after the previous video, and I gotta say, even though this ship has been nerfed, still like it. The amount of firepower I can bring to bear, even though the turrets traverse so slowly, is still pretty impressive. And I think it's one of the biggest things I like about it now. As opposed to the last game when I was bottom tier, in this game I'm actually top tier. This is a tier 8 game, and it's only me and another cruiser that are the tier 8s on our team, and it's the same story for the other team. Yeah, that would be the case. But this should give you a pretty good idea, and I felt like it was a pretty good game on my part. Not a great game, but just a good one. Just kind of give me an idea of how this ship can perform. Now, I'm not a huge fan of these type of sort of really open map designs that they have on a lot of the higher tier maps, which is what I've been playing on. They're not really designed for this. Not a very cruiser friendly environment, to say the least, and I'm finding a lot of that in these tier 8 games, which kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. So the Mogami, I'd say, is a pretty good cruiser overall. The turret rotation of these 6-inch guns, though, just really kills me. I feel like it really kills the damage I can output. And it also opens me up to a lot of damage, because I typically have to turn my ship to get my guns on target. So I'm really debating if I should switch over to the 203mm guns. But maybe I'll make a video on that if I decide to switch over to them. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and head north. I wasn't in a huge hurry to get anywhere till I saw kind of where the enemy team was deploying. It looks like some of their ships are heading up this way. Usually once several ships start heading one direction, the whole team will lemming train in one direction. And that's actually happening with my team, which is why, also another reason I'm heading over here to the northeast part of the map. Because if there's one thing I know I need in this ship, it is battleships to take damage for me and other cruisers to be shot at. One great thing about these guns, though, is that they have a 925 meter per second velocity when they leave the muzzle of this gun. So these shells travel very quickly, I'd have to say. I have a very easy time hitting destroyers at long range in this ship, so that's definitely one thing that I like about these guns. Now, one of the drawbacks that I'm finding with this ship is that in these higher tier games, like tier 10 games, is that this 15.7 kilometer range on this ship is not quite cutting it. For whatever reason, the higher tier games seem to be very standoffish, and you have to get in. Well, I have to push up ahead of my BBs quite a bit, and it's a very dangerous place to be, because I end up being very forward and exposed, and I end up drawing a lot of attention from the enemy battleships, which I don't want to do. But there's nothing I can do about it. I don't have the option for a range upgrade on this ship, so you know, just kind of deal with it. Now, I'm launching some torps at that Baron in anticipation of him continuing up in this direction. But unfortunately for me, it looks like he's actually turning around. I'm guessing it's because of our destroyer that smoked up right there on the tip of the island that he was sailing towards. Probably I'm sure he didn't want to continue in that direction, so yeah, he's turned around, and now unfortunately for me, I didn't have AP loaded, but I am loading it, and the smoke screen in front of me is actually concealing me from this Atlanta. I unfortunately don't lead him enough. End up getting 4 over penetrations, but I go ahead and readjust my aim because he still can't see me, and that's when we land 3 citadels on him, almost take him off of the map, and unfortunately for me, he actually disappears because there's no one to spot him in the smoke. Now I actually shoot at that spot, thinking that he's going to ground, and sure enough he does. Just needed 1 over penetration to take him out, and here comes some AP shells. I thought this might have been from a battleship, but splashes are way too small, so they're definitely from the Sternberg. Now I'm not quite sure why that guy is deciding to pick a fight with me. Maybe it's because I'm the only one spotted. But at the moment, I am in a poor position because I have nothing to shoot at. I unfortunately got a little tunnel vision there. Because, well, I saw an Atlanta. That's a very juicy target. It's one of the few targets that I can actually do quite a bit of AP damage to. Most other cruisers, if you have a broadside, you can do quite a bit of damage, but if they start to angle a little bit, your AP becomes very ineffective, I'll say, on this ship, and that's mostly due to the caliber of the guns, I assume. But the HE is very good, and that's what I use most of the time. Because if you can land a lot of your shells, you're going to do a lot of damage. And this Fuso is unfortunately in a very bad spot. So I got a fire on the cruiser, that Nuremberg that I shot at. And I end up lighting a fire on this Fuso as well. And he unfortunately used his damage control and put the fire out. But I'm going to try and get 1 shot off right before he goes behind this island. And I do actually get 2 hits, 1,700 points of damage. Now, I'm not quite sure what the hell this Fiji was thinking when he decided to set up a smoke screen right there, because that smoke screen literally did nothing for him because it's right behind an island, which kind of sucks. I was really hoping to scavenge some smoke screens from this Fiji and sit in them with him, but he is not giving me that option. Now I'm just trying to size up this Fuso, see if he's turning or what the heck he's doing. And yeah, okay, so he's actually turning to the right. Try and get some HE on him. And that was a pretty good shot. I only do 858 points of damage. And I'm not too particularly surprised by that because the Fuso doesn't have much of a superstructure to speak of. It's just kind of like a flat deck with this giant command tower. That's pretty much the only superstructure to shoot at. And I actually land 14 of my 15 shells on that time. But it is time for me to start dealing with these ships that are coming up from the southwest part of the map. And I unfortunately, I didn't want to swap to HE and wait for the reload, but it's okay. I underestimated exactly how much I needed to elevate the guns, and I missed on that first shot, but this shot I am definitely not going to miss. And that's just what I'm talking about with the overwhelming firepower that you can bring to bear on these destroyers, even at you know, what was that, 13 kilometers? You know, I landed 6 shells on them, and that's pretty huge. It's pretty huge because you saw how much damage it did. And you can, it's pretty easy to make those shots because of how fast these shells travel. Now, on the longer range shots, like 14 and 15 kilometers, because of how small caliber they are, they do tend to lose their velocity. So I'd say anything over 12 kilometers, and the time to target really starts to tick up exponentially. So unfortunately, I'm going to get T-boned here by our battleship, while he may be able to sit in the back and snipe, which is probably not a very advisable thing to do in a German battleship because they have very bad dispersion. I'm unfortunately out of range, so I gotta move up so I can start shooting at somebody. And I'd like to shoot at this Baron, but I know I'm not gonna be able to. He is in full retreat, as is his friend in the Colorado. But this Nagato over here is thankfully still heading in our direction, and he is full health. So I'm going to take this opportunity to take some of that from him. Doesn't look like he needs it, and we actually do 4,200 points of damage there. Got 7 hits on him, and Nagato actually has somewhat of a superstructure, so you can kind of do some damage on him even though its predecessor had a pretty flat deck, the Fuso. The Nagato actually does take quite a bit more damage, and I'm really trying to hit that tower, and sure enough I land most of my shots on it. 12 of them actually. Do quite a bit of damage, start a fire, and 8,000 more damage from the HE there, landed 12 shells. And the fact that you can just do so much damage with these guns because of how many shells you have, and the fact that you're going to be starting fires at a pretty good rate too, is why these 6-inch guns are so good. Not to mention that they're fairly accurate. I feel like most of the shells on these guns are going to hit. Now, I've been doing quite a bit of damage to this guy. I'd like to send my torpedoes at him, but unfortunately for me, he is running away, plus there's a friendly destroyer there, so I don't want to possibly hit him. So I'm just going to angle my ship away. I want to kind of pull the distance here because I felt like he might train his guns on me, and at that range you can't really miss. So just trying to get a little bit more damage in on this guy before he dies. And I am going to actually turn around now because I don't need to be sailing in this direction anymore. And something just took a shot at me. Not quite sure what. I guess it was maybe the Baron, or possibly could have been the Yato before he went down. Now, I know 2 of the enemy ships are over here, and I'm guessing the other 2 enemy ships are over at the cap. Excuse me. Still a little bit sick. I got sick again. Not quite sure how the heck that happened, but maybe, I guess if you're not quite over your sickness and you go work out, you might strain yourself too hard and let whatever was plaguing you come back. I'm guessing that's what happened to me. But anyways, if that's why I sound a little bit different, that is why. Now, this enemy Baron is definitely on full retreat mode. I'm sure he's trying to pull back to his friends there. I'm not quite sure what this Edinburgh was thinking when he decided to open fire, because all he's going to do is probably get himself killed. Now, I didn't want to fire at him because I wanted to wait for him to complete his turn. That way I can land as many shells as possible, and he actually eats a citadel there. And somehow most of the shells land on the other side of his ship, and some actually land on my side of the ship, so kind of got screwed a little bit by the dispersion there. I think one HE shell probably would have been enough to kill him, but fortunately they just didn't land, so you know, what are you gonna do? And I saw this guy shooting at me, so I cut the power, turned in, and those shots sailed way off of the other side of my ship. So what I find usually when I'm playing is that people don't aim very well, and I usually end up slowing and turning into their shots, but this guy actually knows how to shoot and aim, and surprisingly the slow and turn actually worked this time. I usually find that to not to be the case, but anyways, whoa, after eating a salvo from one of our friendlies there, it looks like he is going to be on his way to the bottom here pretty quickly. And I'd like to get the killing blow on him, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, so I decided to focus my attention elsewhere, especially with the enemy Colorado showing up.
Our team has taken the lead.
Excuse me.
Fighter airborne.
Now, at this point, I feel like we've pretty much got this game in the bag. I don't feel like there's any way the enemy team can come back. They got a little bit too split up there, and they got picked off one at a time, which is a good way to lose the game. This guy doesn't appear to be moving at full speed. Maybe he's moving at 3/4. But I've actually seen enough Colorados moving slow that I know what one moving at full speed looks like now, so go ahead and dial back my aim a little bit there, but my lead, not my aim, God. But those shots actually missed, turned out a little bit more after I sent those, and I'm kind of hesitant to open up my broadside here because I don't want to eat a massive amount of damage for no reason. And did quite a bit of damage with that HE salvo on this Colorado, and you're pretty much going to do that to any battleship or cruiser that's got a lot of superstructure with these HE shells. You're going to do quite a bit of damage if you can land them on their superstructure. Now I've actually got a fire rolling on this guy, and it's helped me break the 100,000 damage mark here. And once this guy goes down, this is pretty much going to be game over. And this should do it right here. Now that wasn't too bad of a game. We ended up getting 111,000 damage, 177 hits on the enemy, and we get 191,000 credits and 2,300 experience. I'm actually surprised that I only got 7 fires with as many hits as I had, but that's alright. Now, end up on the top of the team there just barely. It's probably because of the amount of damage that I did, which I feel like in a Mogami you should be on top of the team. You have a lot of advantages that you can use. Just the amount of firepower that you have is just so ridiculous. Now, we ended up doing most of our damage to the enemy battleships, and then we spread a little bit around to everybody else. The Atlanta takes a lot of damage, but a lot of our damage actually came from just the HE shells themselves, 72,000. We ended up getting 25,000 from fires, and about 13,000 there from the armor-piercing rounds that we fired at that Atlanta. Now, I ended up only making 91,000 credits in this game, and that's not bad. It paid for itself, and it'll probably pay for another game, so that's great. But anyways, if you like this, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Now that wasn't too